All right, so I think our products are pretty cool, but I think actually seeing how our products manifest in our customers' environments and how it enables their vision and their goals, infinitely cooler. So I get the great pleasure of welcoming two incredible customers that are local, but also global brands to some degree, to the stage in a moment. But taking a step back, we actually have a value here at Box, or globally at Box, that is called blowing our customers' minds. And every day we kind of come back to that and say, is what we're doing today actually enabling that value? And to us, it really matters. It's not about building products and pushing them into the market. It's about creating something that adds value for our customers at all turns. And so as we talk today with Met Police and Virgin Trains, we're going to talk about how Box has enabled them. We're going to talk a little bit about digital transformation, which is top of mind for everyone, and what that means to the technology and your culture as well. I got the great pleasure of meeting Angus McCallum yesterday, who's the CIO of Metropolitan Police. And he came from the private sector into the public sector and has just an incredible viewpoint on technology and the impacts in both swim lanes, but also has a really interesting past. I mean, he's lived in Iran, he's lived in Argentina, he's been all around the globe, and he's landed back in the UK, which is his home, and is doing some really cool stuff with Met Police. I continue to be amazed every time I see a global headline of something going on in London where the Met Police is eyeball deep in it. And it just seems like they're outperforming against their American counterparts at every turn. And so I know it takes a lot of work for that organization to actually build trust in their communities, and they're working on that every day. And then secondarily, Virgin Trains. I'm a huge Virgin brand person. We don't have as much of it in the United States, but I fly Virgin Atlantic, I fly Virgin America, pretty much full stop these days. And I've had the pleasure of being on a Virgin train before, and they're incredibly amazing with regard to their service levels, their timeliness, and the experience in general. So with that, I'd love to welcome to the stage Angus McCallum and John Sullivan. All right. Okay, so could you both introduce yourself quickly and give the audience a little bit on the scope of your role in your organization?
Okay, I'm the CIO of the Met Police. To give you an idea, the Met Police polices London. It also is responsible for counter-terrorism and special operations, specialist crime and operations. Has about 50,000 employees overall, 30,000 police officers. Give you an idea, London has a population of 8.8 million, growing to about 10 million, has 51 million night stayers a year. That's tourists in, of which over 40 million are not from the UK. If I was to give you some not so attractive statistics, inequality is growing. A third of children in London are below the poverty line. Sort of grievous bodily harm offences have increased by 228% since 2011-12. Murders up 38%. A lot of new stuff coming. Mental health's the #1 priority for the health service. Has a big impact on the police. Unfortunately, about 14 Londoners a week commit suicide. So it just gives you some less attractive figures to think about. Those are percentages, not absolute numbers. So I suppose I'd say who would not want to be involved in trying to solve some of those problems.
Good morning, everyone. John Sullivan, CIO at Virgin Trains and Project Director. Sounds a grand title. I've got to tell you, it doesn't feel like that every day, but most days it does. A little bit about Virgin Trains. I think the first thing is we're a company, a true Virgin company. We're obsessed with customer service and providing the best service. We don't get it right all the time, but when we don't get it right, we want to learn. I can't give you anything like the stats that Angus does, but we have about 38 million customer journeys a year. Our customer satisfaction index is on the increase, which is a real driver for us, and that actually we justify projects not always financially, but it's good if we can do that, but also about actually this will improve the customer satisfaction by this much. It goes up about 1 every quarter. So we started about at 30, and now the customer satisfaction index, NPRS, I'm talking about, is about low 40s. We want to get it to 50. That's what we're driving towards. Digital transformation is absolutely at the heart of driving that customer satisfaction index up and up.
Yeah, so speaking of which, I know you all are incredibly up the curve in food chain on digital transformation. Tell me why, quite simply, you chose Box. What was the use case that drove you to Box in the first place?
So we chose Box because, one, we wanted the core technology that you have. So we're not actually only in the UK, we've got offices around the globe, so to be able to share that data. Openly we wanted more than SharePoint. It was just the core technology was right at the heart of what we wanted to do. I think one of the key things on digital transformation, I'm sure we're going to talk about this in a bit, is actually, so what's the roadmap? What's the Box roadmap? What are you thinking? Are you your ambition is high? Because we have to be ambitious, don't we? We have to have that level of ambitious, and that level of ambition was there. So not just the core things that we'd wanted to use straight away, but lots of things that we actually wanted to do. And I think we found, the chemistry is important too. Chemistry was absolutely there. And our opportunity to change the roadmap, we felt was absolutely there with Box. So when we made that decision 2 years ago, and all of those things have come through today, so Box are a great partner to us.
Awesome, thank you. Angus?
I'd used it before in a previous company, so when I came in, could see how it could be used within policing. We're using it in very different ways than I originally envisaged. So we've got collaboration. One of our criteria is mobilizing the public and partners. That's all around collaboration. So to give you some examples, if an member of the public has a photo, they can upload it through a link directly into Box. So it's speed of getting that information into our systems. Another one is around sort of pursuit of justice and improving victim support care. And again, that helps. So we can load up now CCTV, 999 call information directly as electronic links into Box, and it's a direct link, electronic link into the Crime Prosecution Service. That can be shared with defense lawyers and everything. The other thing that excites us, I'll be honest, the roadmap. The roadmap's exciting. I'm not a wire and tins man. I'm a user and abuser of technology, so we'll be looking to use it to its absolutely full capacity as we go forward.
Awesome. Thank you. So quick question outside of Box, what does your broader cloud ecosystem, SaaS ecosystem look like? Any tips for the audience?
Well, I guess what does it look like? I guess it's for us is we've got to get great partners. It's fundamental. I think we had one of my challenges when I joined Virgin Trains 3 and a bit years ago was we had some really old rail legacy suppliers and their systems were old. So I think having the right partners. Box is one. We're doing a lot of work with Amazon, as you may have seen in the press recently. ServiceNow is also important. We're doing some good stuff with Google, and hopefully you see some of that in the very near future coming out in the press. So I think for me, it's getting the right partners, and again, talking about ambition, but with all of the things that we're doing, actually, it can be really powerful. So if you've got 30 projects, you put them all together, and at the end, what does that mean to the customer, and how you kind of glue those things together so to have that cohesive, holistic kind of roadmap that we've got. And that's also important because for me, because I think one of our challenges that, we need to be in sales somewhat. So old technology, 20 years ago, whereas the technology team was worked around the corner and no one was quite sure what we're doing, I think we need to flip that. So we need the good partners, we need that roadmap, we need to capture the imagination of my fellow execs and the MD to kind of drive that level of change. And it's never ending.
Yeah, never ending. What about you, Angus?
It's been a battle because it's government, it's suspicious of cloud, but we're there. I think for me, one of the key things is to move away from a capital model to a revenue model. I think it's much more efficient and effective in transparency of costs and everything else. Just to give you an idea, the Met had 50,000 XP machines 2 years ago. So that's the issue of being in capital. It always gets delayed. It's never available. Revenue model's much easier. Obviously, we're looking at Office 365. We're doing work with a company that do the body-worn video and thing, Taser, that's all in the cloud, and various other SaaS offerings that we've got coming along. But we're going to see a much bigger move. Obviously, Microsoft Azure and the Home Office have now just moved into with Amazon. So the government is starting to move more and more to a cloud strategy.
Fantastic. So while I've got you, digital transformation, what does that actually mean to you and your organization, especially being in the government sector?
We've always had sort of ones and noughts, and we've always had processes and people. I think digital is a word that gives you a right to disrupt that. Unless you disrupt the way you do those processes and really change the ways of working, you're not going to get the value of it. So I think it's a license to disrupt. That doesn't mean it's easy. To give you a flavor, just internally, getting Box compared to the private sector, where we did it very quickly, took nearly 8-9 months. I think probably the CFO of Box was pulling his hair out of how long we were going to stay on pilots and would he ever get a contract. But we got there in the end. So speed's really critical.
John, what about you? Digital transformation?
What's digital transformation? I think it's never ending. It's every day. And if you want to be a true transform, it's being very much part of the business. So, and I've talked about how you kind of combine projects, but for me, it's that we have to live and breathe it. We have to be part of the business. The best days that I have is actually going to the stations and talking about, we're doing these projects, what would that mean to you? What about the last project that we did? What was that good? What was bad? And just being 100% part of the business, asking questions, just full energy every day. And if we're going to be true disruptors, that has to be every single day, but bringing the business with us. So it's my role is understanding technology, clearly. Well, I've got a great team, and that's a massive help. But actually, what does that mean? What does the charm offensive mean to the business? How do we get the best of this technology? How do we get our frontline teams involved in these changes? So I think the biggest change that I'm delighted that I've seen at Virgin Trains from 3 years ago is actually we had a workforce that didn't want technology. The project that we've got now, people want it. And when I'm going about in the stations, they talk to me about, this is what we're doing on training in our stations. It isn't just the standard training, of course we're doing the standard, but they want to do more. So they're thinking about what that means for them. So I think that's for me, it's the best bit of news. Actually, they want the change. We've been successful. I think there's also something about being resilient, because if we think every day is going to be good, then we're deluding ourselves. So there's something about being tenacious, but being the front line for me is being the front line in terms of the technology change, being there for everybody and talking. That bit is probably more important than the technology piece.
Which kind of leads to my next question. So thank you for the nice segue.
It was planned.
Transformation typically implies change, right? And change management is hard. It's even hard in Silicon Valley. I mean, we're a 12-year-old-ish company, and you would think being born in the cloud, that we'd be as agile as humanly possible. But the reality is, you got a little feedback going. Okay, the reality is we're not always, right? And sometimes when we're making major change, it's tough on the people. So talk to me about the cultural impact that goes on with the technology changes that you all are driving, and how you make it as good as possible for your organization.
So I think that I bore everyone at Virgin Trains, because I think I say this every day. So the concept of small speedboats is important. So we've got a big profile of projects, but we try to avoid. Sometimes you need to do large project change, but what we like, and actually Box is a really good example. Let's do small incremental things. Let's learn from that, because it's not going to be perfect. Let's refine what we've done, and then let's go on to the next one. And so that kind of the concept of multiple phases is important. Now, what you think might be in phase 3 before you've started phase 1 may be different. So you need that kind of agile thinking approach is critical. And I think we have to, it's easy to say, but we have to not be too worried about mistakes. So even if you fail or the project doesn't deliver, for me, there's really valuable lessons to learn. I think what the business wants me and my team to do is actually learn those lessons, take it on the chin, and next time don't make them again. So there's a kind of a quality cycle that I think is really important.
Yeah.
And if people see that, I think actually they're on the case. If it goes wrong, we're on the case. But most of the time, if you do your thinking up front, and I think that's important to do, 80% of the time it's right. The 20% learn, refine, and move on. But I've alluded to before, being very much part of the business. I don't see my team being in technology. We just know a bit about technology, but we're business people.
Angus?
Some of the same things. I think you've got to go at speed, but you've got to set the expectations. It's not perfect. You've got to manage the white noise. I think you use a mixture. We go sort of background after we've done change programs quite quickly, 2 weeks after rollout into an area, understand what's working, what doesn't. You can use a mixture of qualitative data and quantitative. In some areas, we're using Splunk and things to just look at how people are using the application and stuff. And that really helps to understand and particularly work out what's white noise, what are cynics, and what are real problems. It isn't easy, but I don't think you can plan it to the nth degree because you don't know how it's going to land. And I don't think there's any set models. We've done areas where you'd expect the old guys not to embrace it, and they've really embraced it, and the younger ones haven't liked it, and vice versa. So there's no set model in terms of who's really going to embrace it or not.
So last question, which is a little bit of a curveball, but if you could share with the audience, if in 2 years you and your organizations have wildly succeeded, what does great look like? Like, what is your mission, and what does great look like against that?
Shall I start? Yeah. You can have more thinking time. What does great look like? I think for me, it would be, so the customer satisfaction is critical, and I think we are a company that is truly obsessed by delivering that service. So what great would look like is that customer satisfaction index, getting better and better. I think we want to be a company that's renowned for digital transformation. I think very much part of that is, and again, I'm probably repeating a little bit, but being part of the business and the business enjoying the change, being very much part of the change, and that kind of customer satisfaction level. We do a survey internally, which we do from technology called Vibe, about how our colleagues, our frontline team feel, and one of the key questions asked is about what do we think about change. And mostly it's good. Some of it's not good, but we have to kind of address the not so good. So I think what good looks like for me is like there's fulfillment for my team. I want, we're a connected team, so the team feel that what we've done is great. We've made a change. The change is for the good. We want to wake up in the morning and actually run into work. Sometimes I feel like running into work. It's 20 miles away, the office, so I can't run into work, but in my mind I'm running to work. Because of the level of excitement. So I want my team to feel that way. I want our customers to feel that we're making the change. So for me, that would be the most important thing. The financial side, yeah, absolutely, because we want to do change to make more money. We make it easier for customers, they come back. That's the most important gauge that we have. So a lot of our projects aren't about just this bottom line that we're going to add. Actually, we're going to improve the customer satisfaction level where you're going to come back more often. Not always easy to gauge. So for me, it would be those three things.
Awesome.
Our team, customers, and the business as a whole.
Excellent. Thank you. Angus?
I think for me, it would be fantastic digital engagement with the public. I think it would be people thinking, God, we've now got digital police officers, whatever that means. I think another area would be... information becomes like a second language, and the use of information, and people are hungry for that. And the last one probably will be that we don't talk about change and transformation. We're just chasing people's expectations of where they want to go, and that's what they expect.
Thank you. Gentlemen, we're out of time. Thank you so much for sharing with the audience, and really appreciate the excellence that both of you are trying to drive in your organizations.